Fire Can You Believe? A little girl who once hid 3 runaway boys in a mountain cave would one day become the flame that challenged an entire empire? Today's story takes you to Obudu, a place where courage wears no armor and love begins with an old, hand-carved bamboo charm. This isn't just a journey to reclaim justice. It's a journey to preserve memory, dignity, and promises that must never be forgotten. If you're drawn to stories about humanity, justice, and unbreakable spirits, like this video, subscribe to the channel and share to help spread the light from this flame. Backhand index pointing right, stay until the end. Because sometimes the ending isn't a period, it's where everything truly begins. Obudu, 15 years ago. Night fell quickly over the southern mountains. The last dry season winds swept red dust and ashes through scorched bushes. 3 boys, sweaty-haired, feet crusted with dry blood, ran breathlessly through the brush. Behind them, dogs barked and whistles shrieked like ghosts on their trail. "Hurry, Tendo," Zubair hissed, yanking his friend to his feet. I can't breathe," Tendo gasped, collapsing to the ground. Kofi, the quietest of the 3, scanned the terrain and pointed to a steep rock wall with a narrow crack. "There! Hide there!" They squeezed into the crevice, hearts pounding. Outside, torchlight flickered past. Footsteps, then silence. But sleep never came. Hunger clawed at them. Thirst burned. Fear curled around their ribs like smoke. Near midnight, a rustle in the grass. Soft footsteps. Then, "What are you doing here?" a girl's voice whispered. The boys jumped. Standing before them was a girl, about 13, bronze skin, tightly braided hair, holding an oil lamp. Her eyes, lit by the flickering flame, were curious, not afraid. "Tendo, please don't call the adults." "Zubair, we're just running. We didn't steal anything. We didn't hurt anyone." Kofi, head bowed. "We just didn't want to die there." She looked them over, filthy, gaunt, feet swollen and cracked. "My name is Adana. Follow me. Quick, before the hyenas come." They didn't ask questions. She led them through brush and dry stream beds until they reached a small hut near a cave, thatched with banana leaves. She pushed the door open. "My father used this place to store medicine. Now it's a place for those who need to disappear." She set down a cloth bundle, soft millet, a pinch of salt, and leave for wounds. "I'll come back tomorrow. Don't light a fire. Don't make noise. And if you're going to die, at least die with a full belly." She turned to leave. "Tendo, why are you helping us?" Adana, without turning, "Because no one deserves to die in silence." The night passed. Spoon by spoon, the hunger eased. Kofi examined the bamboo charm she had left, carved with a flame and a winding path. Zubair, quietly, "She's not like anyone from that prison. She's like someone who keeps the fire." Tendo, clutching the charm, "If we live, we find her again. We remember her name." Kofi, Adana, the fire keeper. Outside, the wind stirred the forest. But for the first time in years, they didn't shiver through the night. The next morning, Adana led them through a shortcut past a rocky stream. At the ridge, she pointed toward a distant road. That road leads to a relief station. A truck passes every Friday. If you survive, live for a reason. Kofi, taking her hand, "One day we'll come back." Adana, smiling, "I don't need promises. I need you to do what's right." She turned and walked into the forest, her small figure swallowed by the trees. But in the hearts of 3 boys, a memory was carved forever. A small flame, just enough to warm the longest night. Accra, Ghana, 15 years later. The late afternoon sun draped golden light across the Volta River. It softened the city's harsh edges, almost as if trying to hide the bleeding wounds still open in one woman sitting quietly on a curb at Kanamando Market. Adana, now 28, no longer wore neat braids. Her hair hung loose, dusted in fine red grit. In front of her sat a small wooden bowl, empty. Her eyes, once bright with curiosity, now carried the weight of exhaustion and a pride that refused to yield. 10 years ago, her parents were killed in a mining accident when a Droa Holdings truck carrying explosives lost control and detonated near Obudu Sacred Forest. They didn't die instantly. They were buried alive beneath collapsed stone. There was no investigation, no compensation, just a letter and a cold apology in ink. Stripped of land due to lack of ownership papers, Adana was forced from her home. The small hut her father built was demolished. She wandered from village to town to city. Some days, to earn a crust of dry bread. She sang at bus stops or washed car windows for strangers. But she never forgot the three boys. The cave. The fire carved into the bamboo charm she still kept in her torn coat. That same afternoon, a major development summit lit up central Accra. Crystal chandeliers, elite guests, high security access. 3 men stepped into the grand hall. Tindo, in an ivory suit. Zubair, earpiece in place. Kofi, quiet as always. They were Flame 3, a multi-billion-dollar firm with the slogan, "From ashes, we build the future." A banner above the stage read, "Launch Ceremony, Golden Belt Expressway Project, sponsored by Flame 3. Tindo's eyes scanned the crowd, but stopped, not at the stage, but at a small corner booth where a community panel was being filmed. There she was. She wore simple clothes, thinner now, but Tindo recognized her instantly. Adana. Her voice wasn't soft anymore. It was forged in fire. This highway cuts through land stolen by blood and forged documents. Does anyone ever ask why I'm begging a Kinamanto instead of living in my home in Obudu? Because that home was taken, like my parents. Like my childhood. The camera panned. The 3 men froze. Zubair, whispering no way. Kofi, she didn't die. She survived, and now she's fighting. Tindo stepped forward, ignoring stares and cameras. His voice was low, shaking with memory. Adana, is that really you? She turned, looked him over for a beat, then breathed. Tindo, softly, you still remember my name? Adana, the boy who once ate porridge in my father's hut? Hard to forget, but I never thought I'd meet you again, standing beside the man who killed my parents. Kofi stepped forward, hand to his chest. We didn't know, but now we do. And if you'll let us, we will make it right. Adana was silent for a long moment. Then finally, quietly, I don't need pity. I need people who will stay. Not to repay a debt, but to keep an old promise. That evening, in a private meeting room, the 3 men sat in heavy silence. Zubair opened a window. Kofi placed a worn bamboo charm on the table. Tindo closed his eyes. Tindo, she saved us from death, and we let her live through hunger and grief. I want to withdraw from the project. Zubair, that's 5 years of planning gone. Kofi, no. It's the beginning of something finally worth doing. Tindo nodded. He picked up the charm. She saved us once with a lamp and a little porridge. Now it's our turn to keep her fire burning. Outside, the city buzzed on, unaware that 3 billionaires had just altered their future. And somewhere under that same darkening sky, a girl who once begged on the streets was preparing to ignite memory into flame. This time, she wouldn't be alone. Kinamano Market, Accra, 3 days ago. Amid the dust and noise of the crowded market, a woman sat quietly against a wall. In front of her was a small wooden bowl for coins. Adana, thin, her hair loose and tangled, clutching an old cloth bag that held a bamboo charm from long ago. A sleek black SUV pulled up nearby. 3 men stepped out, Tindo, Zubair, and Kofi, the powerful leaders of Flame 3, a billion-dollar corporation. Tindo glanced down. Those eyes, tired now, but unmistakable. He hadn't seen them in 15 years and had never forgotten. Adana, he said softly. She looked up, silent, then nodded. I once saved you with cold porridge and a flickering oil lamp. Now, I sit here not because I need coins, but because memory has been forgotten. That night, in a private meeting room, they placed the bamboo charm on the table. Tindo, I want to withdraw from the project. Kofi, I agree. We can't build a highway on stolen memories. Zubair, we're not here to save her. We're here to walk beside her. 3 days later, Flame 3 officially announced their withdrawal from the Golden Belt project. From the car window, they looked out toward Obudu. The wind carried red dust across the hills. Tindo, it's time to return to where the flame first began. Obudu, 3 weeks later. The Obudu forest was no longer silent. The sounds of hammers, shovels, and saws echoed beneath the canopy. But this time, it wasn't destruction, it was rebuilding. Beneath the old baobab tree, once a hiding place for 3 terrified boys, now stood a vibrant community worksite. A claw sign stitched by hand hung proudly. Adana Vocational Center, where memory becomes action. Tindo stood among a group of young men, wearing a simple shirt, showing them how to operate a solar-powered brick press. Kofi worked on installing a clean water system powered by sunlight. Zubair led a media workshop for children, telling our village's story with old phones. And Adana, steady and blazing like a quiet fire, moved from tent to tree, listening to elders recount ancestral boundaries, forgotten songs, and buried histories. But not everyone welcomed change. One evening, while reviewing community building plans in the main hut, glass shattered. A rock had broken the window. On the floor lay a crumpled note, smudged with ash and reeking of smoke. You play with fire. The fire will consume you. Tindo rushed in, fists clenched. You shouldn't face this alone. I'll bring in security from Accra. But Adana looked up, voice cold but calm. No, this is my land. I was raised in fire. I'm not afraid of ashes. The next morning, village meeting. Under the baobab tree, villagers gathered in tense silence. Some whispered, they'll burn the huts. They want us scared. Maybe we should stop. Adana stepped into the center. No microphone, no stage. Just her voice, solid as stone. If we retreat, every time we're threatened, our children will inherit fear, not land. They threaten me because I dare to stand. But if I stand alone, I'll fall. Today, I ask again, who will stand with me? Silence. Leaves rustled overhead. Then Kofi stepped forward, took her hand. I stand, not for the past, but for the future. Zubair followed, leaving the journalist behind. I stand, because for once, I'm not reporting a story. I'm helping write it. All eyes turned to Tindo. He looked down, then slowly knelt, drawing a circle of sacred red powder around the baobab tree. I stand, and I vow, this flame will never be left to die again. One by one, hands rose. Women, elders, teenagers. A human circle formed around Adana. None of them perfect, all of them once afraid. But today they chose to stand. Sweat on their brows, calluses on their palms. But their eyes burned bright, like that night, years ago, when she led 3 boys through the forest. Adana held Kofi's hand, looked at them all. This time, the fire isn't just me. It's all of us. That night, beside a fire pit, children sang old songs. Mothers warmed their hands and shared the tale. The girl who once hid 3 boys in a cave now saved a village with memory. Kofi turned to Tindo, Zubair, and Adana, laughing with a child whose father died from unclean water. We didn't come here to make amends, he whispered. We came here to begin again. But deep in the forest, where night kept its secrets, a truck with no license plate crept down an old dirt road, its logo scratched out, its engine growling low. At the wheels sat a man studying a map and heading straight for Obudu. Obudu, 1 week later. The ground began to tremble, not from rain or an earthquake, but from the rumble of heavy trucks rolling into the village. Unmarked, unauthorized, they bore the old, faded symbol of Duruwa Holdings. At the front sat Chief Duruwa, the man responsible for the mining explosion that killed Adana's parents. He hadn't come to talk. He came to take. "You've played with fire long enough," he said over the loudspeaker. "Now you'll find out how hard stone really is." The trucks screeched to a stop in a village square. Bodyguards stepped out, forming a perimeter. Villagers gathered, anxious, murmuring. Adana appeared, barefoot, clutching a hand-drawn map of sacred land. Behind her stood Tendo, Kofi, and Zubair. "Tendo, you have no court order. No legal grounds to be here." Darua smirked. "I've got money. What do you have? A barefoot girl who used to beg on the streets? 3 billionaires playing heroes." Adana stepped forward. Her voice was calm, clear, and unshaken. "I have memory. I have your name, etched into the ashes of my father. And I have a village that knows how to say no." Darua laughed, waving a hand mockingly. "You think standing alone in a storm makes you brave?" Adana didn't flinch. "I'm not shouting. I'm repeating, until the world is forced to listen." Kofi stepped beside her, gripping her hand. "We'll sue him. Publicly. Tendo, I'll fund the entire legal campaign. Zubair, and I'll make sure every news outlet from Nairobi to Lagos knows what he's done." Darua narrowed his eyes. He turned to leave, but not before one last sneer. "Go ahead. Fight the dragon, girl. But remember, stone doesn't burn." Adana locked eyes with him. "No, but stone cracks when the fire burns strong enough." As the convoy rolled away, the children of the village joined hands and sang an old song. The wind rustled the baobab leaves, carrying the warmth of a memory that refused to die. "Kofi, softly we just lit the first spark." Adana, "No, Kofi. We just began carving our names into the stone." Accra High Court, the final trial. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, law students, the villagers of Obudu, even those who had long stopped believing in justice came to witness. Adana stood at the witness stand, steady, unshaken, clutching the worn bamboo charm in her hand. Those with wealth can build walls, but those with memory, we build monuments that last for generations. Across from her, Darua's lawyer sneered, until Chioma, Adana's young attorney, stepped forward. From her case, she pulled out the original will, signed in her father's own hand. Proof the land had never been sold. The takeover had been illegal. The judge struck the gavel. Darua Holdings is found guilty of violating communal rights and falsifying legal documents. The company is permanently stripped of all development privileges in Obudu. Thunderous applause filled the room. Adana didn't cry. She simply passed the bamboo charm to Tendo, then took his hand. That night, beneath the baobab tree, the village gathered once more. Lanterns swayed gently in the branches. Children laughed. Stories were retold. Kofi raised a carved wooden cup. "This isn't an ending. It's the beginning." Adana whispered, "From now on, we keep the fire together." Above them, the lanterns lifted into the sky. The wind stirred the leaves, carrying with it a name newly carved into stone. Hope. What did you think of this story? Leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. A brand new, unforgettable story is coming soon. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss a single chapter. Thumbs up if this story moved you, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs a little more light in their life.